Well, good morning again. It's Friday, January 17th, 2020. And for some reason, my first upload just didn't want to go through. It had trouble streaming, just almost nothing. So I had to reboot everything and start over. But anyway, getting back into why in the world would I choose a 15 kW inverter and what I'm doing. And number one, you can take all the technology that you want, but until you make the rubber meet the road for yourself, you're really not doing anything. We can do all the experiments and everything, but as we learn and get deeper into things, for the conveniences of home, when we lose emergency generating power. I always treated generators, inverters as emergency generation. But later on, I'm going to add some twist to it. And so we're going to take this technology and make the rubber meet the road. So it's a very big inverter. You can see there that's 15 inches, and the 30 inches by about 2'4". I mean, about 15 inches wide. Okay, and the 7 inches deep. So pretty big box. Okay. I want everybody to understand the potentials of what you're dealing with. I don't want if anybody's following me and doing this, you got to understand the potentials of heat potential that you have there as far as amperage. And this is a 15 kW split phase inverter. And some people go, well, what's a split phase inverter? Don't quite understand that. And inverters, this inverter right here, okay, is the only thing is that this is a modified sine wave inverter, and this is a pure sine wave inverter. Okay, what they do with the modified sine wave is they run a high frequency. Some people call these a high frequency inverters. They really don't have a transformer inside it. So they use high frequency and then regulate that frequency to about 60 hertz in the US. And this particular one is made for, hey, Jason, 110 volts. Okay. So you're stuck with 110 volts. A split phase inverter has both 220 volts and 110 volts. Okay. So your primary coming in, it has a ground. All right. And then you have your hot 1 and your hot 2. Now with this inverter, it has a built-in battery charger that's capable of 150 amps delivery to the batteries for charging off your mains power. So this is where your mains power is connected on this side of the inverter. Okay. Then you have your AC output, and the AC output, the neutral's over here on the end. So if you go from one AC output in the circuit to the neutral, well, that's 120 volts. Okay. Same with the other side, that's 120 volts. So you can balance your load just like you do in the breaker panel. When these two are connected together, that's 220 volts. So this is a split phase inverter, pretty much like the mains coming into your house. Now, the breakers that they actually put on this particular inverter is a 100 amp inverter, okay? And then on the output, it's 60 amps, okay? And so that makes sense because the 15 kW inverter, and when you do the math on it, 15 kW at 240 volts is 62.5 amps, right? Okay. So that's on the AC side or high potential side. Now, this particular inverter has a dry contact switch in it. And so if the mains power goes down, then if you have it set to, and you can set it differently, I'll show you the remote controls and everything for it, but it'll automatically take over. But the dry contact sets are already built in here. So what it does, it disconnects from the mains power, and then whatever you want to run has to be on a separate unless you turn the breaker off. So this does have a automatic transfer switch, and I can signal to shut off the main breaker remotely by using the auto generator start switch. Okay, so there's some modifications that I can do to shut off the mains power, and this has a lot of capability. But I want people to understand, why I'm having to go multiple inverters for my household. One thing is I have 3 air conditioning units on my household. The main breaker that controls most of the lights, like the microwave, my coffee pot, those things, they never runs over 40 amps. So I already know that. So you have the backup to handle that on the main part of my house. So actually what's going to happen is on the main part of my house, the 40 amp protection on the fuse will go right here. People say, well, it's rated at 62.5 amps. Why are you going to put a 40 amp breaker on it? Well, this has a regulator where I can regulate how much amperage goes to my battery. And I really don't want to surge over 40 amps. And I'll get in more of the features of this. This has logarithms built into it. And it uses the capacitor charging, smart charging type technology with it, and has different settings to do that. I'll get into that later on as we go through the features of this inverter. So mains power goes off. The auto generator switch is going to go and shut off the mains power and lock it out. So when I go into emergency generation mode, the mains are going to be locked out, shut down, tripped, and so there's no way any backfeeding can be done. Well, then I'm on battery power. Now the battery power has a negative post and a positive post, but if you're running at 15 kW, just to give you an understanding of what that is, at full 15 kW, you're drawing 312.5 amps. Okay, so you're getting into much bigger batteries. This is a little 400 watt inverter. Okay, single phase. So you have to understand your potentials when you're doing that. In the old days, we used 6-volt batteries, 225 amp hour batteries, and gang them up to do the power. Now we're getting much more sophisticated with battery power and battery power management systems. And so I'll go into the battery power production, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how many amps that you're pulling. If this was pulling a full 15 kW, you're pulling 312.5 amps. Okay, so you got to have a big enough cable going into that, and that's bigger than just a starter cable or battery cable on an automobile. Okay, 5-aught copper stranded cable, big cable, soldered lugs and crimped, and as short of connections as possible. Okay, so you're not playing games with the amperage potential. Now you also have to remember that this is capable of handling surges up to 45 kW for 20 seconds. Okay, 20 seconds is a long time if you were asking it to produce 45 kW. To give you an idea of what that surge power is, at 45 kW, you're at 937.5 amps. Okay, imagine, almost 1,000 amps being pulled there. So yeah, even on a big cable, that's a 5-aught cable, okay, at 150 millimeters, okay, that can still generate some heat. Not to mention that your battery sizing has to be the correct type battery. So we'll start getting into that later. But the so just getting everybody clued in that when you start going into the house wiring and bypassing the mains, to do any off grid, what you're doing now. Also when you have that kind of drainage, your amp hours become very important, and so sizing your battery size to do that, because even for whatever you're doing for that, it's a temporary situation until your mains come back on. Okay, so and then of course we can get into the other technologies for battery charging, and really when it gets down to it, you'll see how all the other stuff that we've been working on, no matter who you've been listening to, how it can tie in. But your battery pack and surge protection is where it's at, and you have to get into that and think your way through it. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. Hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about the inverter, and I'll go in through it step by step, showing you the install as we do it live. And hope you guys have a blessed day, and we'll see you next trip. Hope you're having fun, because we are.